Winter, you've written that by 2050, man will achieve a satanic singularity with his machines. What does that mean?
Yes. I touched on it a little earlier, but basically it is the sense that we have surpassed ourselves by the creation of our machines. Once the machines become sentient, they will merge with us, so we will become more advanced, and death at that time will be redefined. It's back to what I said was what computers used to be in a building are now in the palm of our hand, and soon what's in the palm of our hand will be in our blood. So it's just a satanic singularity. It's a one streamlined force that is occurring, and this will only be for a certain chosen few. It's not going to be for everybody.
Have you looked at 2012, and is there, in your opinion, anything unusual going to happen around that time period?
There's going to be earthquakes. It's going to be upheaval, but it's not going to be the end. There's a lot of just destruction in general, things that are occurring, but I do not think that 2012 is going to be as relevant as the 2011 time date.
Beyond the earthquakes, do you see any other earth changes through your remote viewing?
We are in change. McMonigal and a series of other remote viewers that aren't aligned with me philosophically
Russell
talk about this.
Targ, you know Russell?
Russell Targ is very serious. Putov is being very serious. These people are really into remote viewing. Again, I know them militarily. I know they're still attached to government entities, gray forces as I like to call them, but I'm not aligned with them as far as philosophical. But yes, I think the changes are going to occur typically through droughts and famine that are going to constrict the food, and there's going to be continuations of that through our population. It won't affect the United States so much, but it will affect other parts of the world.
Are you, do you know of Ed Dames, Major Ed Dames? Dr. Doom, we call him.
Yeah, he's a crackpot, yeah.
Crackpot?
Yeah, he's a crackpot.
How come? What do you mean?
Because he did the drugs. In the introductions and during Stargate, there was a lot of drug use going on. It's not talked about, but it's true. And they were experimenting on themselves, and he being one of them.
To enhance?
Enhance, absolutely. And he overdid it. And he won't admit it, but it's true. And he just talks about kill shots and all these kind of crackpot things that never come true, and it just is like ridiculous, The predictions, anybody can make predictions. It's not that difficult, but he's just so trying to grab a headline or attention. It becomes so blatant to sell his remote viewing classes. So it's all just a scam.
We had a Luciferian on some time ago who was way out there.
Right.
Aaron Donahue. Did you ever hear of him?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so he's not part of your group or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
Well, what was his deal?
Well, he too picked lotteries and things like that, but he was a pure Luciferian. That's what he did. I mean, he practiced it, preached it.
Right.
You go online and track him down, and all kinds of horrendous things are out there. So, who knows?
Does he have a record?
I'm not sure. Let's go to Topeka, Kansas. Teresa, you're up with us on Coast to Coast. Hi there.
Hi, Winter. Hi, George.
Hi.
Hey.
I just have a quick question. What your thoughts are on Ouija boards and tarot cards?
Well, I love them as tools. Ouija boards are amazing. They're great.
They conjure up all your friends, Winter.
They can, and they're just great gateway tools. They're wonderful. And tarot cards are really, endemic. They're very addictive. You can get so many different answers from the cohesion. I read for thousands of people, and I get some great results. So it's really interesting.
Do you go to like speaking events and things like that?
Not too much, but I can if I want.
All right.
I usually speak at some universities if I want, but not too much.
Primarily private things?
Yes.
Interesting. What kind of, you don't have to tell me who, but I mean, have you gone to parties where you were the invited guest and they want the whole thing? They want a reading and everything?
Yes. I've done full-on seances for famous people. Did one in the Winchester Ghost House. Conducted one at Leeds Scallenscroll Castle.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, at night when no one's allowed
Did you ever
in.
figure out how he moved those blocks?
There's just magnetic fields there. You know, the entire coast of Florida.
And he knows how to tap into it.
Absolutely. And he died with it, unfortunately. But the new owner does have an idea about it. He lives down the street from me, actually.
Off to Laguna Niguel, Victor's turn, west of the Rockies. Hey, Victor, thanks.
Hi, George. Nice to speak with you. I just wanted to remind the listenership that when, during the beginning of the show, you asked the guest if he would be willing to trick or obscure the audience with various information, and his answer was yes. Also, I wanted to remind everyone that with over 6.8 billion people throughout the world, over 5 million are religious non-satanic worshipers, and the thing being conveyed throughout the evening is that they're everywhere, and the reality is that 100,000 is a mild fraction, and I just felt it was necessary to get my 2 cents in. Thank you guys so much.
Sure, absolutely. But those 100,000 are pretty powerful people, aren't they?
They are, and they're got a lot of money, and they do a lot of influencing. But, you know, my numbers aren't completely accurate because there are people that are walking in the shoes of a Satanist, but they're not professing it. I know Christians that are more Satanist than I am, so they're just not owning up to it.
Would you say, Winter, that most people with huge money are Satanists?
It would be an oversimplification to say that, but I think they would be. They get there through cutthroat ways.
Could we call it ill-gotten ways?
That's right. You know, it's a common thread in our society. And the Masons and their groups and cults and all that is real. They have millions of dollars. I know a master mason that sold a building for $30 million for one man.
Jeez.
You know, they have extreme amounts of money, and they're not nice. They have people taken care of. You know, I mean, look at Osama bin Laden. He has $1 billion. He's hiding in Saudi Arabia. No one could touch him, you know. That Halloween costume he wears comes off, and he puts on a $5,000 suit.
I'm sure he does.
You know, he's alive and well. He has so much money. You know, I mean,
he's probably got his beard shaved. And
that all comes off. That's a Halloween costume.
Yeah.
I've remote viewed that. Other remote viewers.
That's a Halloween, really?
Oh yeah, that's all a joke. He could have been shot that in Nevada and then went over the hill and went to the casino. I mean, it's all. He could have gotten his copter and took off. We're dealing with people on different levels. They have so much money, it doesn't even matter. If you have $1 billion, you own. You know, you just own it.
You own everything.
Disappear. Yeah, you just disappear.
Just your disposable interest a year you couldn't spend.
Yeah, and he's got it. And I'm not a fan of Osama bin Laden and his group, but, you know, whatever they're into, they just have so much money. And they're just there. I mean, and he's in the kingdom, and they've insulated him.
I think you're right. Let's go to St. Louis, the old neck of the woods. John's with us on Coast to Coast. Hey, John.
Hello. How you doing?
Good.
You're probably familiar with Resurrection School that was at Merrimack and Hydraulics.
Yeah, sure am.
Okay. Went there from 63 to 71. Very devout Catholic boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived down on Spring, just south of the factory. And the house I never felt easy with, and my cross used to jump off the wall. Nail would stay intact. There was times that there was objects that would rattle in my mother's dresser drawer, and I'd go and find them, and my mom would be out in the backyard. And I always had a very uneasy feeling. Then about 1976 or so, when I was about 19, I was lying in bed looking at my door. I hadn't fallen asleep yet, but I was just in that state where I was about to drift off. I saw a figure. It was the most hideous, dark thing I've ever seen. As soon as I noticed it, it lunged through the air, hit me in the chest, felt like a brick hit me. I don't know if it went into my body or through my body. I screamed so loud that it awoke my mother. She came running down the hall, and my voice and my throat was ripped up for 2 weeks. I kept this story inside. Just recently, a couple years ago, I was out on the United States Nimitz, and I sat with a Presbyterian minister. And I thought the guy was going to tell me, I'm nuts, let's get this guy off the boat. Anyway, he said, let me describe it. They call the figure darker than dark. And that was about the best description. And to this day, I've been shaken.
And when did it start? Like, what made you get this house?
Well, I was born on the hill. You know where that's at.
Iragazis.
In fact, the house that I was born in was 2 doors up from Fosse's Market, which is now Fosse's Deli. And we moved to this house on Spring. In fact, the address was 4409 South Spring.
Okay.
Moved to it, and I was about 1.5 years old. And as a small child, I always told my mother, I want to go homey home. I want to go homey home, back to the hill. And I always felt uneasy. Now, years later, my father more or less lost his mind. The house became filled with dead dog carcasses. My old man was my old man was carted off, and Paul Beckerly made me sell the house to the city, and now it's just demolished. It's almost like that movie Carrie, where this demonic house gets us.
How is your mental state currently?
Oh, I'm an attorney.
Aha.
So you just feel that you're dislocated in a sense. Are you still drawn to the place, even though it doesn't exist?
Not at all. I've driven by it, and I just have memories. But my life I've had a lot of tragedy in my life. But craziest thing is I always end up landing on my feet. I've counted 11 times where I should have been flat out dead, and it's just I'm stuck around. But I have a very miserable life. But the people that I touch and represent